Hey, good evening. My name is Kimberly Blackrincan. Welcome to the Ignite Hub. Welcome to our Fireside Chat Career Series. This is our fifth season of this guest speaker series that is sponsored by Verizon, and we do have a special guest online who will make some remarks shortly. But I personally like to welcome you to the space. I see many new faces here, which is always so exciting, and we have an amazing panel here as well to talk about their career journeys and how they got to where they are. Um, Next, I would like to introduce Mario Acosta, who I believe is online with Verizon. Are you there, Mario? Oh, there you are. I
I,
see you.
yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep. Take the floor.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who is participating in tonight's event. I'm Mario Acosta Velez. I'm Vice President of Local Engagement and Corporate Social Responsibility at Verizon in the East and Central region. And the DC area is part of the region that I oversee as part of my work and that my team oversees. And I wanted to join, not my first time joining this event. I did it, I believe, last year, the year before, and to join tonight and to say how proud Verizon is to partner with the Ignite Hub one more time and to to be the title sponsor of this Fireside Chat Career Series that you've been done for the last 3 years. And it's certainly an honor to welcome everyone to this particular conversation tonight about embracing innovation and unity in the Latinx experience. So Verizon has always been committed to increasing the number of Latino community members in tech to ensure that cutting edge solutions for the future involve Latino voices and perspectives. And one of the ways Verizon strives to increase the number of Latino community members in tech is through education via our national workforce development program called Verizon Skill Forward. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it in case you are not familiar with this program. So please go and search about it and share it with your colleagues, and community, and family members. So, Verizon Skill Forward provides 1 year of free access to online courses designed by universities and industry experts, including dedicated courses in Spanish. And this program is specifically designed to help upskill and reskill individuals who are interested in entering the tech industry. So if you know people who would like to learn more about how to pursue careers in tech and be able to leverage this important resource, please share this information within the Verizon Skill Forward program. And tonight, I also like to take this opportunity to continue the conversation of advancing Latinos in tech during an event that we have next week called Connected by Culture, Innovadores del Futuro, Empowering Rising Latino Community Tech Leaders, which will take place next Thursday, October 17th, at our Rockville store location, directly located across from the Twin Brook Metro Station. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about this event because I think it's important in terms of our commitment to serving our Latino community, customers, and organization. This event will feature Maryland leaders who are supporting the next generation Latino community leaders pursuing careers in tech and entrepreneurship, including Fran Chambergo, who is a part-time faculty member supporting the Ignite Hub's Montgomery Camp Code program. The event is starting at 3 p.m. until 5 p.m. The event is from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m., but from 3 p.m. until 5, attendees can pose for free professional headshots courtesy of Verizon, and then attend the panel discussion with industry leaders at 5 p.m., followed by a reception and opportunity to network with community leaders and organizations. So this series, called the Connected by Culture event series, highlights the impactful contributions of Latino leaders helping to move our community forward. And next Thursday event in Rockville will do just that while celebrating our local community. So the event is a testament to Verizon's commitment to serve our customers, communities, and partners with pride and culture. And I hope to see you all there. I know that they have information at the Ignite Hub about this event, and I hope that you are able to register and participate and be a part of our efforts to engage the Latino community in cultural retail experiences. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to partner with Ignite Hub to be a sponsor and to support the important work that you all do by participating in this program. Thank you and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Mario. The Ignite Hub and Montgomery College, we're so grateful for the support that you've given to the Hub from the very beginning. We enjoyed a wonderful community meal before we came into the Hub with our guests who are in person. So thank you again for all that Verizon does for the Ignite Hub, for the college, but for the entire community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have some other special guests here. At Montgomery College, we do embrace and have a very vibrant Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, and there is a committee that plans that. So I'd like to invite Dr. Karen Pen de Martinez to share just a couple of words about what do we do here at Montgomery College.
Thank you so much. So, welcome on behalf of all of those of us who participated in organizing Hispanic Heritage Month. Anthony is showing on the screen. We do have a website. If you go to the main Montgomery College website, type in the search box, Hispanic Heritage Month, it'll bring you here. We're coming to the end of the month, so we only have a couple more events down at the bottom that are still to come. But we've done a number of events, and we will be hosting a couple more, including a listening session for our Achieving the Promise Academy. We'd love to hear from students what would be helpful to them. We have 30% of our students now that are in the credit-seeking programs at NMC are Hispanic students, and so we want to do a better job of serving them. We recently came out with a Hispanic Serving Institution Task Force report. Search for that as well on our website. Read more about what we found out, but we have a lot of work to do, and your input and your insights will be very helpful to us in that regard. So I'm going to turn it back over to Kimberly. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for those wonderful words. And that's important because the Ignite Hub is part of Montgomery College. And part of what's really important in our programming that we do is that we're tied into the college community. The Ignite Hub does serve everybody in Montgomery County, but it is important that we are embracing and participating in college-wide initiatives that embrace and recognize our vibrant community. So without further ado, let me get started with our panel. So again, tonight's session is Embracing Innovation and Unity in the Latinx Experience. And this is the second time that we've hosted this particular Heritage Month celebration. We also do it in May with the Anapisi community as well, celebrating Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native, and Indigenous population. I think I got the I. But it's important that we are incorporating that. So this is one of two that we do. Tonight, our guest speakers, we have three. We have an amazing panel here. We have Dr. Antonio del Castillo Olivares, who is a professor in biology. We have Iris Reyes, who is the owner of Eventos Especiales. And we have Dr. Margarita Womack, who is the founder and CEO of Latin Goodness. I'm going to do a very brief introduction, a bio, but they're going to tell their personal story so that you can understand how they got to where they are. But I do want you to understand the caliber of our panelists that we have today. So to start, we have Dr. Antonio del Castillo Olivares here on the end. He is a professor in the biology department at Montgomery College. Dr. del Castillo Olivares is a native of Spain and received his PhD in cellular and molecular biology, master's in biochemistry, and bachelor's in life sciences from the University of Malaga, Spain. He also holds a certificate degree in pedagogy from the same institution. Dr. del Castillo Olivares is one of the fellowship recipients of the UNESCO Sustainable Open Education Initiative and also a Paul Peck Humanities Institute/Smithsonian Institution Fellow. For the past 30 years, he has balanced his passion for teaching with the love for scientific research. His research experience ranges from cancer redox systems, cancer nitrogen metabolism, cholesterol and bile acid metabolism, sex determination, transcriptional factors to human immunological molecular interactions. Okay. During his research career, he has mentored many undergraduate and graduate research students. I'm giggling because I'm going back to high school biology and all my science classes, so I'm proud that I can still pronounce all of those words. But welcome, Dr. Del Castillo Olivares. Next, we have Iris Reyes. Was born in El Salvador and migrated to the United States when she was 7 years old. Until the age of 16, Iris resided in downtown Los Angeles and then moved to Washington, D.C. during her junior year of high school. She graduated from Wilson Senior High School and then earned 2 bachelor's degrees from UMUC, the first one in business administration and the second one in human resources. In 2011, she earned a master's degree in financial management, also from UMC. Iris started in the event industry planning by planning her own quinceañera, which is a sweet 15 birthday, a very large birthday party celebration. Friends and families liked what they saw and started asking for help with their events. For decades, she did event planning as a hobby on the side while maintaining a corporate career. In 2020, during the COVID pandemic, her current employer decommissioned her role. This is the turning point that pushed her to decide to take a leap of faith and become an entrepreneur. And in 2024, Iris started working full-time in her own company, Evento Especiales, using her previous industry knowledge and an established client base. To enhance her professional services, she is also a certified event planner and a certified florist. Most recently, Iris has expanded beyond event planning services to hosting a quinceañera themed expo and teaching master classes on floral design and balloons. Welcome, Iris. We also have, we're gonna clap. Okay, yes, let's clap. Okay. Our final panelist is Dr. Margarita Womack, a scientist turned entrepreneur who holds a Bachelor of Science from Tulane University, a doctorate from Princeton University, an Executive Master of Business Administration, EMBA, from Georgetown University. She's the founder of Latin Goodness Foods, a company striving to make South American street foods more accessible for those with busy lifestyles. Margarita is also the driving force behind the Latin Goodness Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering vulnerable women and fostering stronger communities. Prior to her entrepreneurial journey, Margarita actively contributed to science education and research. Her experiences include teaching at the K-12 level, leading a nonprofit organization promoting science in her home country, Colombia, and conducting primary research at Princeton University. In 2022, Margarita received recognition as the Small Business Leader of the Year in the CEOs of the Year Awards by the Washington Business Journal. She was also honored with the EY Entrepreneur of the Year for the Mid-Atlantic region. In 2019, her company earned distinction as one of the most disruptive MBA startups, according to Poets and Quants. Furthermore, her story gained broader attention when she was featured in Forbes magazine in 2019 and on BBC Stories in 2018. Dr. Womack, welcome. Okay, so you can see we have an exceptional panel to be here at the Ignite Hub and to be here at Montgomery College. So this is a panel format. I'm going to ask some questions. It is directed to one person, but after that first person responds, any other panelist can respond as well, okay? And then after that, of course, we will have question and answer, so you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions that you have as well. So I'm going to take my seat right here. Okay. So I'm going to do double time because we only have one channel for our microphone. So I'm going to ask my question, then I'm going to turn off my mic, and then I'll pass the microphone. So our first question actually is for Dr. Del Castillo Olivares. Can you tell us, oh, I'm sorry. First, let me start with tell us your personal story. We heard a little bit about your biography. Tell us a little bit about you. No.
Hello. Now. Okay. Now is when I start singing. Okay. No, better not. Better not. So first of all, thank you very much for being here to listen to us. I'm sure their stories are gonna be much more interesting than my story, but I'll try to do my best. And you said that a little bit about me and my how I get here, I guess, is what you want to know. Well, I'm from Spain. um, I was born in Madrid and I moved to Malaga, the south of Spain. I got all my studies there. And back in 1995, I came to United States to do 1 year postdoctoral studies at Purdue University. And the plan was to be here for just 1 year. Back then, my English was zero. I was able to read and write, but I was not able to understand anything that you were trying to tell me at all, and much less I was able to speak. And I guess that's one of the things that motivates me for what I'm doing right now at Montgomery College, which is trying to bridge and reach out to our Latinx community, to our students. More specifically, that set of students, because most of them speak wonderful English. My kids speak wonderful English. They make fun of my accent when I speak in English. But there is a big proportion of students that struggle with English, and that creates a problem in their academic performance. And that's one of the things that really motivates me to make sure that they they cross the gap, as they say. When I got here, as I said, I was not able to speak any English for about 6 months or longer. I almost didn't talk with anybody. All I did was just work in the laboratory and went back because I was not able to establish a conversation with nobody. That was 1995 in Indiana, Purdue University, and there was the Latino community there was much smaller than right now, almost 30 years later here in Washington, D.C. At that time, I was doing research, but I always have been really involved in education. That's why I had my certificate in pedagogy. I love to teach. And with time, 1 year became two, 3, 5. I met my wife. I married here. And the dream of coming back to Spain at some point disappeared. And now I'm here at Montgomery College. That's my story. I can keep talking, but
The prompt again is tell us more about who you are, where you grew up, what your childhood was like, and other things about your upbringing that you.
Okay. Well, my name is Iris. I was born in El Salvador. When I was born, the Civil War was starting in El Salvador. By the time I was about 3 or 4, it was full-blown civil war. So my mom decided that she wanted to find more opportunities. So she moved to the United States. She couldn't bring me with her, so she left me with my grandparents. I'm gonna start crying. I'm not. Well, she saved her money and she tried to bring me with her 3 different times. We got deported. One of the times we were even kidnapped. A lot of people don't know this about me. We got kidnapped. So because of this, she decided that she was going to go on her own to get us. Mind you, at that time she wasn't legally here, so she went for us. So I always make fun of her. I tell her she's my coyote because she went to get me. She went to get me and she brought us. At the time she lived in Los Angeles, so I started school in Los Angeles. I did all my elementary school, middle school, and half of my high school. All this time it was just my mom with me. My mom's. I feel that the way I work now is because of her. She taught me to work so hard. She always cleaned houses in the daytime, and then we would go clean offices in the evening. I always went with her. I remember that I used to register for summer classes on purpose because I didn't want to go clean houses with her. She always made fun of me about that. When I was about 16, I moved from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. My mother was dating somebody I wasn't comfortable with. That's a story for another day. And I ended up in D.C. with my dad. And that's when I went to Wilson and I graduated from Wilson. My dad had never had children living with him. So I feel like he didn't know how to act with me since I never lived with him before and I didn't have much contact with him before. So because of it, I learned to be very independent at a very young age. I was working full time during my junior and senior year. I would go to school from 9 to 2 and I worked at a front desk Holiday Inn from 3 to 11 at night so I can pay for my things. I didn't want to ask him for anything. So that's how I went to high school, full-time working and full-time in school. I also think that one of the things that affected me in high school was the transition from the East Coast to West Coast to East Coast. They're completely opposite. I feel like in LA, if you're Latino, you feel like you're home. Everybody speaks English, the language, the foods, just the vibe. And when I moved to DC, I feel like such an outsider. I had a very bad car accident, have a lot of scars in my body. And so when I moved here, I feel like I was I was bullied a lot because nobody knew my story. But back in LA, nobody did that to me because they knew who I was. I was like, it was different. So because of that, I feel like it affected how I thought about college. I'd never thought about going to school after high school because I didn't have like my mom with me and my dad wasn't there to give me that support. So I didn't go to school immediately, but I did have an aha moment. And that's where I want to get to. I know we don't have a lot of time. The aha moment was one time when I was working as a cashier. And at that time, I was already married. I got married very young. My husband had a friend, and his friend had a wife. The wife went to the store where I was working, and she said hi to me and everything. When she got home, she went to tell her husband something. Her husband told my husband, and my husband, Mine Chambrazo, he told me, he said, you know what Marina said? She said, how is Nixon's wife being so smart working as a cashier? At first, I was kind of mad, but then that whole week, I kept thinking and thinking about it. And I'm like, if somebody that barely knows me thinks so much of me and I don't even, the next week, I went to register to Montgomery College. So that's how my school started. So I went to Montgomery College and then I transferred to the University of Maryland. I had on the adult program and I was able to go to school there. And then I started my corporate career. I worked for the Inter-American Development Bank for 10 years, Wells Fargo for 10 years, and Capital One for 5. And then with COVID, I decided to start my own company, and then we'll talk about that later.
So I was born in Bogota, Colombia, and left when I was around 20 when my family was extorted by a guerrilla group called FARC. They, unfortunately, not unusual for a Colombian in the US. And I was lucky, at least at that point, I was in third semester of college and was able to transfer. So that's why I went to Tulane University. And I came similar. I didn't actually speak English at all. I could read, I could write, I had learned it in school. But it's very, very different to actually try to function in English. So it was a pretty difficult transition. But at least I was within an academic environment where you have the support that it makes it so much easier versus your story that just, Madame. And I've always loved science. I always loved biology from a little girl. Since I was a little girl, I just want to understand like what's happening out there and asking questions. I spent a lot of time in the lab. And I always thought, honestly, I would be in academia. But hey, you never know where life is going to take you. So many twists and turns. And same as I was able to kind of completely reinvent myself when I came to do YES and do something completely different than I thought I would ever do. I changed from being an academic after doing a PhD and even a postdoc. When we moved to this area with my husband, it was meant to be for a year, and I had an 18-month-old and I was pregnant. And so, okay, I'm gonna take some time off. And like, okay, I'm not really made for staying at home with babies. I felt miserable at the beginning, like there has to be something wrong with me. Like, aren't you supposed to just love being at home and talking about diapers? So I, I had to come to terms with it but okay, I want to teach. I want to do something that's fun but more compatible with families. So I started teaching middle school science. I did so for 4 years, and I actually loved it, and got to a point where then I had now 2 babies, 2 young boys, and I was pregnant, had a newborn at that point, and full-time job. I was ready to jump out the window, and yeah, no community, no support around, and it was because I wanted a girl. So that's why I have 3. But so I had a friend of the family come from Colombia to help me out. And to sort of then help her, I started what was meant to be a small catering company out of my home kitchen. And she was going to be the chef. And turns out you can't really do in Maryland a food company out of your home kitchen. So we end up at an incubator kitchen in DC and start this catering company, and pretty soon realized that within our menu, empanadas are best sellers. And I come up with this idea that really there's a huge potential in frozen foods, and empanadas are going to be the next big thing, crossover item in the US. This 7 years ago, my family thought I was completely insane. Wait, you have a PhD in biology and science, and you're going to go sell frozen empanadas in the United States? Yes, makes total sense. But nowadays, now 7 years later, they've changed their mind. That it makes sense. My plant is just a few minutes away from here. We just opened our brand new plant, and we sell now nationwide. And yes, seems like the world wants empanadas. So here we are today.
I'm just going to use this microphone instead of trying to coordinate. But wow, thank you all for sharing your story. And that's why it's so important to start this panel with who you are and what you bring into this space. So thank you for sharing your stories and helping us to understand you a little bit better. We'll move into our questions portion now, which now I'm going to pass it to you. So I'll pass down the mic. Well, actually, I have to ask the question first, right? Okay. All right. So here we go. The first question is, Dr. Del Castillo Olivares, can you tell us how you are using innovation to enhance and expand your approach to teaching?
Thank you very much. And before I answer to this question, piggyback on what she said, I had 3 boys. One is 10-year-old, and the others are twins, 8-year-old, because we wanted the girl. And I didn't get the girl, I got 2 boys. So, yes, it's not going to be girl. Now, going back to your question, if you can repeat it, please. Hello. Okay. So, it has several things, this question. How I use new technologies to enhance my pedagogy to teaching STEM. Before COVID, and he also did the same before COVID, before me, Bedam is listening here. I teach online way before COVID. I teach online. I started teaching online back in 2016. I guess it was because of my 3 kids and all. So I had to be teaching online. From the very beginning, I realized that one of the caveats of teaching science online was the laboratories. We are very good in making sure that our students don't need to come to campus, and we teach them the lecture online, and we are great doing so. But at the moment of teaching a laboratory, all of a sudden, all those important points and reasons why we were teaching online, people has to work, people have family, People get diseases that they cannot leave the house. People are in the military and they cannot be in campus. All of a sudden, all that was not important, and we still make them to come into campus to take a laboratory class. I was mentioning this to whoever wanted to listen back in 2016, but the answer was always like, yeah, but we cannot do anything else. Then we were hit by COVID, and all of a sudden we had to change immediately how we teach. We were trained, we helped train others, and right at that moment, people realized, teachers, professors teaching science realized, oh wait, what are we gonna do with the laboratories? And all of a sudden it became a reality. And that's when I started thinking, how can we do this? Teaching laboratories online, distance learning, in an asynchronous way. So I developed different things. One of them is at home hands-on packages. I call it hands-on at home. So the student receiving a box in her house or his house, a box with all the materials that is going to be needed for the student to do that specific laboratory. So it doesn't have to come to the campus. It has to be strongly supported with Blackboard and with videos and strong pedagogy behind it. But that's not enough yet. Then I kept thinking, what else can we do to make sure that these lab experiences, teaching laboratory to a student that's going to be in a different city, and I'm going to be sleeping, and the student is going to be taking that laboratory, how can we do this? And artificial intelligence and virtual reality gave me the hint. And I have been working and developing activities and modules that use virtual reality so the students can go virtually into a laboratory and do exactly the same exercises that we do in our laboratories in person. And the secret here is that they need to be exactly the same activity, the same things that I will be doing with the student in my physical laboratory. That's what I need to be doing with the student in the virtual world. And I have a little video to show you. Hopefully, they will have it ready. It's a teaser video. Let you watch it and enjoy it.
Hi there, I was waiting for you. I heard you are looking forward to learn about the polymerase chain reaction. Identify a microfuge tube rack that holds 4 1.5 milliliter microfuge tubes with different color. Check that you also have one strip of 4 PCR tubes with lid. Finally, find the automatic pipette, the box with tips for the pipette, the beaker to dispose used tips, and 2 small microfuges. Prepare the balance tubes by filling 1 microfuge tube with 20 microliter of water, and tubes in the strip with 30 microliter of water. Spin for a few seconds the 1.5 milliliter microfuge tubes with the DNA and the tube with the reaction mix to bring all solutions to the bottom. Make sure you have all tubes balanced in the centrifuge. Add 10 microliter of DNA from the microfuge tube A into PCR tube strip A. Repeat this for tubes B, C, and D. You have to run the reactions using the thermocycler. Perfect. We need to program the thermocycler with the correct settings for temperature, time, and number of cycles in each stage. You can find the proper values in the whiteboard. Set the number of cycles. Nice job. Take the tube strip with the PCR tubes and place it in the thermocycler plate. All you have to do is click on Start and voila, you are done.
So this is a quick video that we prepared to show, because an image is worth more than 1,000 words. I don't know if you have noticed how the caption is in Spanish. I did that on purpose for this video to show the capabilities. The audio can be in Spanish or it can be in any of the language that this artificial intelligence offers you. They have all the languages of the world. So that's one great thing. That video is exactly what the student, it's a game, it's a video game that you are doing with your goggles at home and you are there doing this thing. I've been doing that at home and my wife is looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, I'm doing a PCR, leave me alone. My kids love it. I think that the students will also love it. It prepares them to do it again then in the real world, I call it the other side, with the box that they also get. The student also get that home box with the real pipes, the real tubes, the real thing. The only thing that I cannot send them is that PCR machine. It's called a thermocycler. That's the real word, the real name, not the PCR machine. And that's actually what gave me the idea of doing this specific exercise, is because I can send the students a box with the components that we're doing for the laboratory, but I cannot send them, each one of them, one of these expensive thermocyclers. My dean is not gonna go with it. It's, right, it's way too much. So virtual reality has the answer. And then when I was doing this, it grew up again. I moved from virtual reality to augmented reality. And I have another little video to show you. The idea here is that I would love to transform our hallways and our walls into open books. The students now are wearing, and in 10 years, or in 10 years, in 2 years, they're all going to be wearing these smart glasses, and they're going to be looking at things, and that's going to be, those things are, or can be target images that will trigger an application, and information is going to come into the retina. So if we transform all the hallways with things, this is what can happen.
A polymerase chain reaction uses repeated cycles of heating and cooling to make many copies of a specific region of DNA. First, the temperature is raised to near boiling, causing the double-stranded DNA to separate or denature into single strands. When the temperature is decreased, short DNA sequences known as primers bind or anneal to complementary matches on the target DNA sequence. The primers bracket the target sequence to be copied. At a slightly higher temperature, the enzyme Taq polymerase, shown here in blue, binds to the prime sequences and adds nucleotides to extend the second strand. This completes the first cycle. In subsequent cycles, the process of denaturing, annealing, and extending are repeated to make additional DNA copies. After 3 cycles, the target sequence defined by the primers begins to accumulate. After 30 cycles, as many as 1 billion copies of the target sequence are produced from a single starting molecule.
What triggers this thing, and the glass is showing you all this here in front of you. So if you can imagine a hallway in a college, in our biology department, with posters that are going to be triggering images and information with videos and audio about every single one thing of our curriculum, in every single language that we want. It can be English, but it definitely can be Spanish, Hindi, Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, whatever it is, name it, it's going to be there. You're going to have the students going through our hallways like if they were in a big museum, getting access to the information directly. It can also access me with my office hours, giving them advice on the biology program or the biotechnology program. So the opportunities are limitless. It's all dependent. The limit is what is it that we can imagine, and we can do it. That's my approach of technology and new pedagogies.
The next question is for you, Dr. Womack. You are a scientist turned entrepreneur. Can you talk about how your background as a scientist has helped you with your business?
So I think science is the best training for any career, to be honest. And yeah, we were talking about that over food earlier. But science teaches you to think. It structures the way you approach problems and solve them. And entrepreneurship is pretty much the same thing. And it's, for me, the process behind putting together business is the scientific method in the end. So your hypothesis is this product or this service, right? You need to make sure, you want to make sure it actually makes sense. Maybe, I might be thinking, I don't know, that empanadas might be the most wonderful thing ever, but unless the general public thinks the same and are going to buy them, then it doesn't make sense. So then you have to validate that idea, right? And for that, you have to design a process to gather data. And once you have those data, you have to analyze them and reach conclusions. And then take action is the one part that's different. And then you do so repeatedly, right? So as you grow a company, you find that you have these different problems to tackle and you always apply that same idea. So turns in a way probably even closer to the engineering design process, right? Where you have a prototype, you test it, you learn from it, you make it better. You do version 1.1 and then version 1.2. So that's exactly what I did. Also, science gives you a quantitative way to approach problems. And for me, I think it made a big difference. So when I started, anything I had to do, I would always utilize that same approach. So is it a new flavor? Is it a new, the packaging making sense? So definitely, I think the best possible training for entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Yes, that's very insightful that it's transferable skills. That's what we talk to our students about all the time. So that's a perfect example. Thank you. The next question is for you, Iris. So you did share a pivotal moment or experience that made you decide to change your career path, but what valuable lessons did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, so I decided to change my career path. Well, I don't know if I was forced, but I decided to change my career path because of COVID. My department was being decommissioned, and we were given the opportunity to stay with the company or to leave. But I had not even it had not even crossed my mind to leave. I was just going to stay. When I received the package to review it, one of the benefits that they were giving us was continuing education. They were willing to pay up to $5,000 as long as it was an accredited school, whatever I wanted to do for another career if I wanted. So then I was like, what? And I've always loved the flowers. So I started looking for accredited schools that I could go to. And I checked with the recruiters that were assisting us with the transition. Like, are you sure you can pay for this? Can you pay for it in advance? I want to make sure that I don't get there and then they tell me that it's not paid for. So they actually paid for it, and that's how I decided that once I was there, I went to Miami for a whole week, learned everything there is to know about flowers within a week. And when I came back, I told my husband, I've decided that this is what I want. I want to actually do full time the event planning. Now, when you say what lessons I've learned, I think that going back to what you both of you said, what you learn in school or your previous job does transition because I was always in the financial field when I was working. So one of the things with quinceañeras, Latinos, they don't care how much money they spend on these parties. And if you hire a decorator is like an order taker. Give me this, give me that. They were like, oh yes, the more you want, the more money. I am not that person. I tell my clients straight up, I'm more like I'm an event planner. Let's use the money wisely. I had a wedding where he wanted a yacht to come down the because it was waterfront. The groom wanted to come in a yacht. I'm like, no, we're not. We can use that money for this. We can use. So I feel like because I have the financial background, I can assist my customers with utilizing the funds. Like I tell them what budget you have. Like let's be realistic here. How many guests you have. So that has transitioned. As far as for me, what I've learned is that the difference when you work for a company is you get up because you know you have to go and you have a paycheck coming in 2 weeks or a month. When it's just you, you have no choice. If you want that money, you got to go for it. You have to get up. Like Friday, I worked almost all day. I told you. Saturday, I left my house at 7, got back at 3 in the morning. Sunday, I had another event, and I got home and I was exhausted. But at the same time, when I get home, my husband sometimes he'll ask me like, "Well, do you want to go back to the corporate world?" I'm like, "No, I wouldn't change it for anything because I don't have that stress. I don't have to fight for anyone for a PTO day." Now I have the best boss and I can get as many PTO days as I want. But I feel like being an entrepreneur, it's completely different. It's not for the weak. Let me tell you that. If somebody wants to start their own, I'm sure you agree with that. You have to be so consistent. Now with social media, you just have to show up on social media too. Like now you're also a content creator, even if you didn't want to. So it's so much involved. There's so many lessons learned, but at the same time, it's lessons that you've learned throughout your whole life. Like I was very independent, like I said earlier. So that has helped me in mi empresa, like as an entrepreneur, because I've always been used to doing everything on my own. I don't necessarily need to ask people to do things for me, and that helps you when you're an entrepreneur because you're the accountant. When the way I am now is not a large company. I'm the accountant, I'm the content creator, I'm the one that does the messages. But at the same time, because I worked so many years at banking, I was a branch manager, I had that customer service experience. And one of the reviews that I always get from my clients is they like the way I treat them. And that's because I had that experience from my banking. So it all it circles back. So everything is very important. I think that we always learn lessons from everything that we go in our life and just put it together.
Thank you, Iris. Um, Dr. Del Castillo Olivares, you showed us your research that you've done, which is amazing because you're making education more accessible, specifically in the biology area. But can you tell us a little bit more about your passion that you have about this research, how it has been influenced by your experience as a Latinx individual?
Well, one thing I will say is that everybody can have passion for research. I mean, like you were saying, research, scientific research is so much fun. It's everything. It's like the solution to everything. Who could have said 5 years ago in 2019 that in a matter of months everybody was going to be confined in their houses and that humanity would have to find a vaccine in 6 months and make it available for everybody? If you don't think that that's amazing, then I don't know. Does it matter if you are Latino or you are not Latino? Really? I want to think that science is inclusive and everybody can have the same love for it. Now, having said that, you always look for people that are like you or look like you that were doing this before you to find out how they were doing it or if it was relevant what they were doing. And I admire Ramon y Cajal, Nobel Prize. I admire, one of my heroes is Severo Ochoa, another Nobel Prize, both of them from Spain. Biologist, medical, one of them was a doctor in medicine, the other one a doctor in biochemistry. One of the main persons that discovered the RNA and the DNA code, that was Severo Ochoa. So those are examples that you are always studying their work and they are in front of you and you are admiring. But there are also other players that as scientists and Latinos have played a humongous role in the world. For example, a Cuban scientist, Carlos Finley, he is the one person that discovered that malaria was produced by the paramecium, and that for malaria to propagate from one person to the other, it needed the mosquitoes. This single, maybe silly discover have an amazing consequence for United States. Thanks to this discovery, the Panama Canal was built. Before that, thousands and thousands of people died trying to build the Panama Canal. Latino people, indigenous people from Central America and South America, Africans that were brought here to work. Thousands of people a month were dying because they were not able to survive more than 1 month or 2 months. They were 1 or 2 months, then they were dead, and then they kept more thousands of people. And the canal was not being built at all. When Carlos Finlay discovered this, the United States Army gave an order, and they were like, it's completely forbidden to have any water containers outside because that's where the mosquito larvae grow. Yes? So in a matter of a few weeks, malaria disappeared from the area, and they were able to finish up the Panama Canal. And what's the consequence for the United States? That was triggered the fact that United States was the #1 economical country in the world, because all of a sudden, everything doesn't have to go all the way to Argentina and come back. But now everything can cross. And who has the royalties if you want to cross? United States. And because of that, United States became the #1 economy in the world. What was the silly thing? A scientific thing, which was malaria, and which was discovered by Carlos Finlay. To me, that's my example of how, or the role of Latinos in science and in STEM, and what is the consequence in humanities and in economy.
I will say the one thing that stood out to me in the video that you shared and the augmented video that you showed, you had it in multiple languages. And what connects for me or resonates for me about that is you personally had an experience of living in a country where you were not able to speak. So by having the ability to have multiple languages, that's also increasing access. But I wonder, a question I would have is that based on your personal experience?
The answer is absolutely yes. I mean, to me, it was very important not being able to talk with people for almost a year. It was define my work and my motivations now, and that's why I am making sure that all our students have access to somebody. In this college, we have faculty that speak, like everybody keeps saying this, but it's true. We have faculty that speak any language of the world, all of them. Do you guys know how important is that? Every single language in the world is spoken at Montgomery College. There is no reason why a student should fall behind, because it does not understand what is being taught to that student in English. There is no reason whatsoever. Yeah.
Okay, next question is for Dr. Womack. The Latin Goodness Foundation is dedicated to empowering vulnerable women and fostering stronger communities. How did your experience as a Latinx individual shape your decision to start this nonprofit?
Definitely something that's really closely tied to why I started the foundation itself. So tying back to the story earlier of how the company starts. My friend that I started the company for, in a way, in the end she had to go. We couldn't get the visa for her to stay. Unfortunately, at that time, easy visas disappear. The program changes. But once I hired the first employee, he was Salvadorian. And then once we needed someone else, he brought his neighbor. And then when we needed someone else, she brought her daughter-in-law, who then brought people from church who brought, their friends. And suddenly we started building this little community where we had different people from all over Latin America. And of course, we'd speak in Spanish, and you start seeing the needs there are. And I realized in general how lucky I've been and how many doors have opened and how many opportunities I've had. And it's not the case for most immigrant women. And you start looking at the stats. If you're a single mother, especially, you're 40% likely to be food insecure. And job opportunities are so difficult, especially if you're a mother and you're on your own. And even though Hispanics are becoming, at this point, I think it's 21% of the total population, right? And set to be over 30% of the population in the next 20 years. Median age is something like 12 years younger than the average median age across the US. It's the population that starts the most companies across the US. It's the population that if you count it as a single economy, it would be the 5th largest economy in the world. But once you look at individual people, it's unfortunately difficult to succeed. If to give and most people assume if you're Hispanic, you are likely a gardener, a construction worker, a bartender. I mean, not even, more like the back in the kitchen, right? So when I used to teach middle school science, it was very unusual. A National Cathedral School, so very fancy school, and there were several Hispanics and staff, mostly kitchen staff and the cleaners. And those that were faculty were Spanish teachers. So it was very odd. People would never see me as the science teacher. Wait, you're Hispanic, therefore you should be teaching Spanish. No, I can perfectly teach science. And whenever my husband is from Norfolk, Virginia, and I tell him he's so pale, he's not white anymore, but pink. So I call him Pinky. He would probably strangle me if he heard this right now. But my children somehow, no, genetics, technically darker colors tend to be dominant. My 3 little boys look like little replicas of him. So I just was an incubator, I guess. But then I go to the park with these blonde, blue-eyed kids, and people immediately assume I'm the nanny, of course, because I'm Hispanic. Therefore, I need to be the nanny, and they can't be my children. So it's just those perspectives, right, that people have in how they might judge somebody from a Hispanic background. And it's not that difficult to help people. And to me, when from my position, if I can, I must. Because if you have the ability, it's how can you not help people that are in need? So as the company started growing, the company itself would provide a paycheck, right? And that's a start towards stability. But then once you get to know people, they don't necessarily have a bank account. They don't necessarily have an email account. We've had people with domestic violence issues, people that don't know how to find childcare, people sometimes that arrive and they just arrived and it's the middle of winter and they don't have a jacket. They don't understand how to navigate. It's so overwhelming. The transportation, the public transportation, try to get somebody to ride the metro for the first time. They've never been on a metro, and you can't read the signs because you don't speak English. So helping by then taking you to the bank and just open your bank account and explaining basic things about that when you grew up in the US or you've been a long time in the US, it's just in the air and you, in a way, just learn them, right? So I started the foundation to further structure that support. Right now we have about 75 people that work at our plant. Over 80% of them are women. And 73 out of the 75 employees are Hispanic and represent 11 different Latin American countries. So I hope through what we do to provide the tools, the skills, the network, the connections to help these women thrive. And of course, I see myself reflected in them. And I understand how tough it is. and they have it so much tougher. I have so many people from Salvador actually, and very similar stories. And hopefully their children will be like you and have those opportunities and fight it and make it happen and build themselves a wonderful future. So
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Lomax. The final formal question that I have is for Iris. As a successful entrepreneur, what advice do you have for Latinx individuals who are considering switching careers and starting their own business?
I think that one of the misconceptions about being an entrepreneur, at least because I'm in event planning and I'm hired as a coordinator sometimes, so I stay at the events. So people see that I post that I'm at a party. So they're like, oh, how cool, you get paid to go to parties, or I think one time somebody from back from middle school started following me on Facebook and saw me with flowers. She's like, oh, how nice you get to play with flowers. So it's to going back to what I said earlier, it is not a game. Being an entrepreneur is so much work, and nobody's going to tell you you have to do it. You got to tell yourself that you have to do it. And based on whatever goals or dreams that you have to work hard at it. Like I said, my mom always taught me that whatever I wanted, I have to go for it. Nobody's going to give it to me. And that's what I would tell somebody. You're going to transition from being in a regular job field to creating your own job, you have to know that you have to be your own boss. But for reals, you have to push yourself to do it. If not, it's not going to be successful. Once you have that, you also need some structure because once you see all this money coming, you need to know where to go, what goes for taxes, what goes for overhead, whatever, all these different things. You need to have some type of background. I know a lot of people want to start a business, and I've heard also a lot of people say, oh, when I'm ready, I'm going to do it. And someone told me that, like, you're never going to be ready because you always say, oh, when I have a house, I'm going to be happy. When I have a child, no, just go for it. Obviously, there's going to be some hiccups and bumps along the way, but you're going to learn once you start doing it. And the more you do it, the more you're going to get experience. One of the things that I did was I started, you know what they say, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. I don't know if you heard that, like the people that you hang out with, that's what you turn into. So I started taking classes for Floral, and you've seen me because she follows me. And then try to become friends with the people that teach the classes. And I'm like, I want to learn. Show me how to do it, and I can go help you. And yesterday, for example, it wasn't one of my weddings, but I went to help somebody else. So I saw the way she works, and I learned things from her, and I'm comfortable giving her tips of things that I've learned from someone else, and that's how you grow. No tiene que ver envidia. Like there shouldn't be like you feel like, oh, she's a business owner doing the same thing that I do. I shouldn't be near her. She's gonna steal my customers. I don't have that. I've been also doing classes, like Kim said. So we did a couple of classes here, and we have people that want to become a event planner or a floral, whatever, and they can tell you that I give them my number and I'm there for them. I think the other day a lady was trying to do a corsage. She didn't know what to do. She called me. I kind of like gave her I did a video for her, and I checked back on her the next day to make sure it worked out. So I want to be that person for other women. I want to be an example for them, and I try to tell them that as long as they want to do it and they tell themselves, they also have to work hard for it. It's like me saying, I want to lose weight, but I keep eating. It's not going to happen. So you have to say it, but you also have to do it. I've always taught my son that I'm not the one that's going to practice I'm not going to preach. I'm going to show you with an example. You have to actually have actions behind your words for things to be tangible.
Thank you. Thank you. That concludes our formal questions, and everything that all of you have shared is amazing. The videos, hearing your stories, and how your personal experiences have influenced where you've gotten to today. I'm going to open it up to Q&A, but to kick us off, and Iris, you actually started already on the topic, but I'd like to know from all of you what the importance of mentorship and networking has been in your journey, and in any insights that you have for young professionals or entrepreneurs. so that they can leverage the resources of networking and mentorship. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Womack, and you can pass it down.
Such an important skill to build. So for me, mentors and a network has been a huge piece of getting me where I am. So as an academic, depended enormously on my mentors at undergrad and then graduate school. It's the people you go to bounce ideas off. It's the people that have the experience you need to get where you need to. And it's been the same for entrepreneurship. So it takes a village to raise a child, it's the expression, right? It takes more like a city or really a county to get a company really off the ground. So there's been all the resources I've been able to access. I've done my best to be able to be there, connect with others that are walking that same path I am, right? We all have different experiences along that path, and if we share those ideas, we're so much stronger. And there's those that are further ahead and have been already covered that stretch of the way, and they know more. And so, and others have helped them. So to me, you always pay it forward to those that are just a little bit behind you, share with those that are along you, and we all grow stronger. But it's something you have to work on. And there's some of it that's organic. It just happens. Like I said, we're in the same space. We might talk later, and now we're connected. But it's something you also have to work actively on doing.
I think that a lot of the companies don't have that mentorship programs. The first bank that I worked for was Wachovia, which then got bought out by Wells Fargo. And Wachovia did have that. So I've never been in banking. I used to work in DC, as a matter of fact, and that's how I ended up in banking. I was driving home and the metro was crazy. And if you took the Amtrak, if it was over 80 degrees, they had heat restrictions. And it took me like 3 hours to get to my house. And I was turning into the street, and there was a sign that said, Wachovia coming soon. And I told my husband, I don't care what job they give me, I'm going to go and apply for a job in there because I don't want to drive. I could walk home. So I went for the interview, and I thought, because I didn't know anything about banking, that I had to be a teller. So I applied for a teller job. So once they gave me she gave me the interview, she called me and she was like, well, I have a question. If you have degree, why do you want to be a teller? I'm like, because I've never been in banking. I thought I had to start there. She was like, no. We're going to give you, she gave me an assistant manager role. But they gave me someone, a mentor, and I remember her. And to this day, she's one of my best friends. She was always there with me, and I would tell her, well, I've never done this. And she would tell me what to do, how to do it. And even in my personal life now, if I have a problem, she'll call me and check on my boys. And I've learned that it was so helpful for me. I don't think I would have stayed so many years in the banking industry if I did not have her. And then that's why I ended up in Capital One, because she left. And then she took me with her. She convinced me to move to Capital One too. So I kept following her. And now she's at PNC and she wants me to go, but no, I'm not going. But the mentors are very important in our lives. I think that throughout my career, it helped. And now that I see people that want to do what I'm doing and they ask me for help, I don't mind in a heartbeat giving them the advice, the help, as long as I see that they're doing the effort. Because I'm not gonna, I completely don't agree with handing down all my resources to somebody if I don't see them working hard for it. It has to be well balanced. But mentorship, it's very important, I think, for any area of business.
It is. Mentoring and networking, you were also asking, both of them are very important. They are not the same thing, they are different. Networking is, to me, networking is that last factor that might make a good idea to be completely successful, or just stay a good idea, but not being absolutely successful. Two quick examples about networking. One of them is how I became at Montgomery College a professor. I wanted to teach. I expressed that to a co-worker in my laboratory where I was doing research in Shady Grove universities. Didn't exist at the time, Shady Grove universities. I told him, look, I love teaching and I little bit tired of being in the laboratory all day. And he told me, well, my wife teaches in Montgomery College, and they are always looking for a part-time professor, part-time instructor. Why don't you contact her? I sent her an email, Professor Kellman from biotechnology, and that single email, that's networking thing, had a domino effect that translated that 20 something, 15, 17 years, I don't know. A lot of years later, I am I am here. That's one example of networking. Um, Another one was back in 1993 when I was finishing up my PhD and I didn't know what to do. And I went to a meeting, a scientific meeting, to present my research at the time, and I had a little poster. I was so proud of it. And I'm presenting that poster to somebody that stopped over there, and he told me, I know somebody that's in Purdue University that might be interested in your work. Let me put you in contact with that person. Those are those little things, sparkles of something that makes you go one way or the other. And mentoring, very important as well. What I have learned from mentoring, either I have learned it from my mentors, and it's something difficult when you try to be mentor for somebody, to our students or somebody at the professional, a colleague in the professional ways. When you mentor, you have to remember that that person is not you. What you want to do or what you like for you might not be the best thing or the best advice for that other person. You have to understand what is the surroundings and the environment and the needs and requirements of that other person to be able to give proper advice. And that's what I will say. Thank you.
So now the floor is yours, audience. Question, answer, and we probably have maybe some questions online for our guests.
My question is to Dr. Womack. Well, when you said from 11 countries, right? It reminded me of the film festival happening at Silver Spring, AFI. Anyhow, so if I heard you right, there is a foundation, right? So may I know what kind of support does the foundation provide to employees?
So the foundation is something I also started. It's very young, not even a year old at this point, but it's a way to be able to formalize what we do, what we're doing in an informal way for our employees before. And it's something that I hope later might be able to grow and be replicated in other manufacturing companies, as far as it's always the same type of population, right, that ends up in manufacturing. So what we're doing, say one key one that from asking people, what is it that you need, that you're looking for? Top is always language, learning English. So we started a pilot where we had students of Wheaton High School, students advanced in Spanish, then do kind of an exchange program with our employees. They would connect over Zoom, and we had these lessons they would follow, where then one would get to practice their Spanish and learn about the culture of that country, while then the employee was learning English. And that worked out really well, and it's something we want to do more of. We often bring speakers, so lawyers, we've had banks, we've had one part that's very difficult is convincing people to sign up for health insurance. And it's cultural too. There's the sense that, but I'm not sick. Why would I need health insurance? I'm not sick. Well, around here, if you don't wait to be sick to get insurance. So financial literacy, how do you budget? How do you save money? And then often whatever they need, whatever is personalized, we try to not reinvent the wheel. That's not the point. But it's not so easy to identify the resources, say, in the county that are available to people. So say domestic violence, we know where to send them and who to call, right? There's often, say, there was the other day a chat about how to buy your house, how do you start a mortgage, how to save around doing those things. So we try to help them find those connections and really make it as individualized as possible. Hopefully, something I would like to have fairly soon is to have a counselor on site, somebody more like a social worker that could help us really, because it's every person has a different story and a different need, and being able to spend more time with people and helping them in exactly what they need. Yes, absolutely part of that financial literacy aspect. Again, just things that are not obvious for if you just immigrated.
Hi, so I think my question is mostly directed at you, sir, but I think both of you will also have really meaningful answers to it. So in, I think going back to some of the stereotypes, people think EEO, like let's bring in the Latino voice, a different opinion, different state of mind. But even on your project that you showed us, right, that's you going into a technology field that is different than what your home base is. So beyond just our growth of who we are, who our parents are, how did your scientific background and your curiosity lead you into listening to the other voices in the room and finding which ones aren't being heard so that you can make this product a reality?
You mentioned when you said this product is reality, are you talking about, you thinking about the virtual reality or in general? That is a characteristic of my personality. I am stubborn. And if you want to motivate me, just tell me that that cannot be done. That works, that makes wonders for me. That is like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to start working. I'm going to start doing my research. You are right. I had no idea. I'm not a computer guy. I don't know how to do those things. I could not tell you the amount of internet videos that I have watched about the virtual reality and this and that, and how I have to, okay. And I was like aware, like, okay, I don't know how to do that. I'm gonna need to contact a computer guy that knows how to do this. My friend Eduardo here has been also very helpful to me. He doesn't say so, but it's been very helpful, sometimes in giving me advice and whatnot. But I have to find somebody that start doing that. And then I discover new problems, administrative problems, security problems that I'm not aware of. But mention that you want to put an application about virtual reality in the servers of the college. You will see how everybody start saying what? And all the red lights start going up. And wait a second, what are you going to be doing? But if we want to do this is a proof of concept project. If Montgomery College really wants to do this for real, we are going to have to put these things in our servers. And we are going to have a way of controlling and knowing what can be done and what cannot be done. And it serves me to discover all these problems. We have not mentioned here something important also. The main reason why there are subtitles is for making sure that the activity is available for all our students, even those with special needs. And the reason why it's being tell you what to do in that game, because it's kind of like a video game, and there's a voice telling you, now you're going to be doing this, and now you're going to be doing that, is for people that cannot see, but they are they have to listen the instructions. So I had to do a lot of research. You have to find what is it that motivates you. In my case, everybody was saying that that was impossible and that was very difficult. And I'll say, well, I'm gonna do it. And I hope that that answers your question. And then look for other people, people that knows about that stuff. And then you can talk to them and say, this is my vision. Can you help me to do this?
Hello, my question is directed towards Dr. Womack and Ms. Reyes. You guys are Latina business owners, and I also want to be a business owner and also Latina. Um, and I really want to focus on giving back and helping my community. Um, kind of recently, I went to the hospital because my sister was a little ill, but while waiting to check in, I saw this Hispanic man who was not being treated well. And it is one of my biggest regrets that I did not step in to help him, but because of that moment, that is my motivation to use my business as a way to help and give back to the community. And from what it sounded like, you guys are also like trying to use your businesses as trying to help others. You know, you guys are not greedy. You guys want to teach others and help others. So I wanted to know, what was your moment where you were like, no, I want to help others. I want to use my business to help others.
Yeah, okay. As far as with what I do, when I started taking courses, they were $5,000, $4,000, and I know that some of the ladies in my community or neighborhood who wanted to do didn't have that kind of money. So I told myself, if I learn, I can teach them the same thing, and I don't have to do it for that kind of money. So we just did a class that it was like the all day. The ones that I've taken that were 3,000, we did it for $500 because we need to cover the expenses of the flowers and the venue and all that. So I feel like and the one before we actually did it for 150 because it was we told I keep saying we because I have another friend that does it with me. We told ourselves like as long as we get the money for the venue and we're gonna do something small, but I want them to feel that like we can teach them. They don't have to spend all that money. And there was a couple who said that she couldn't. We let her come. Like, don't worry, you can still come. I just want you to learn. We want to empower you. It wasn't ever about the money. And I don't mind like giving my time. And I guess I think I was telling you that earlier with when I worked with Wells Fargo, well, I did a lot of community events. So we did financial literacy. I would go to hope shelter homes to teach them so they can come back into the community. And also being a Latina, I can tell you my mom. My mom's been here since 1978. She knows my mom. You're not going to make my mom speak English. They're so set in their ways. I was her translator. I took her to the doctors. Like I did everything for her, right? And I have a little brother, and I was like a second mom to him because my mom would never never wanted anything. Until this day, I've been trying to get her to have an online account because she's like, I have to go to the bank. Mami, no tienes que ir para eso. I'm like, I'll teach you how to do it on the phone. But they're just it's a cultural thing. They're set in their ways, but slowly but surely. So she has my brother has children and she loves the little nietos. So we convinced her of iPhone. So she recently got an iPhone. So now she's been FaceTiming me. Yeah, but it's a big accomplishment. My mom was walking around with a flip phone forever. And like she just got so it's slowly, but you can do it. I think that as long as they feel that you're being sincere, they're gonna feel comfortable. Because if I tell somebody you can come to my class and I'm not gonna charge you, the first thing someone's gonna say is, what do they want? They want something from me, but they have to feel that you're being genuine and they're gonna ease into it and feel comfortable and appreciate it.
For me, if you ask about that pivotal moment when I thought this is something I can do, it probably never really happened as a eureka. Okay, it's something that was ingrained in me from the very beginning. My mother is something that she considered is just, if you're human, that's what you do. But the first time I really had a chance here, and that sort of solidified, cemented that for me, the can be incredibly rewarding to help others. So when my youngest was a baby, and I went back to work, then I hired a nanny. She was a very young woman from Guatemala, and she had a baby herself. And so she didn't know what to do with the baby. Well, very simple. Just bring your baby with you and just take care of the two babies in my house. And that helped her, get work for 2 years and have her kid take care of her daughter. And then when her daughter was school age, I helped her get into the same nursery where my son was going. And so her daughter learned how to speak English and was well prepared, and now is thriving in school. When she finished being a nanny for me, she wanted to start a business. So she started a business, and now has maybe 5 employees. And something simple I had learned, like how do you incorporate a business and what do you need to do it. So I helped her walk through the process and build her website, Fabiola's Fabulous Cleaning. And that's it's incredibly rewarding when you see that growth and what people can accomplish with a little bit of help.
Thank you. We are right at time at 8 o'clock. I would like to, of course, thank our panelists. You are all incredibly busy, so thank you for making time to come out here, share your story, and tell us here in the community in Montgomery College how you got to where you are. And my biggest hope is that everybody and anybody here in person, online, or future people who watch it on YouTube are inspired by your stories to take their next step to make their dreams come true. So thank you for your time. On the screen, we have a QR code, and online there's a link. Please, we'd love to have your feedback. What did you think of this session? Would you like more? The Ignite Hub team, we look at this data and we do make decisions based on your feedback. We want to be responsive to you. I'd also like to thank Verizon again for sponsoring this guest speaker series, the Fireside Chat. Our next one is the Future of Tech Lunch and Learn, which is a really exciting topic about a local company that is addressing agricultural issues using social enterprise and technology. And we are having somebody Zoom, a farmer actually, who's part of the organization, talking about how he uses their technology on his farm. So that's an exciting topic. And then our guests also, thank you for coming. You are also very busy, and the fact that you took time out of your schedule to come here and be with us on the hub or online as well. We're glad that you're here. So with that, good night. And our guest speakers, our guests in person, please make your way over to 102. I'm sure we have some leftovers and some to-go containers that you can take your food home. So thank you again.